The mining colony on the edge of the Vega Belt was a quiet place, where machines did most of the work and humans mostly waited for their pay. The air was dry, full of red dust that never seemed to settle. Evan Hale lived alone in a small metal house near the scrapyard. He was a mechanic, one of the last few who still preferred fixing old machines by hand instead of letting auto repair systems do the job. He didn't earn much, but he liked the silence, the control, and the smell of metal when it was heated for repair. Every night, he sat in his small workshop surrounded by tools, half-finished engines, and wires scattered across the floor. His only companion was the hum of the generators and the low whistle of desert wind outside. One evening, while searching for spare parts at the local trade post, Evan came across a crate pushed to one side of the storage room. It was marked in bold red letters, "Defective unit, do not activate." Inside the crate sat a humanoid figure, a girl-shaped android with fox-like ears, silver hair, and a soft mechanical tail wrapped around her legs. Her eyes were closed, her body still. She looked like she had been asleep for a long time. The trader, a heavy man with grease on his jacket, noticed Evan staring and laughed. "Don't waste your credits on that thing. It's a failed model, won't talk, won't move right. Some luxury manufacturer made her for emotional support contracts, but she glitched out." Evan frowned. "How much?" The trader shrugged. "She's junk. 200 credits, if you can even get her running." 200 credits was less than the price of a cleaning drone. Evan didn't need her, but something about the figure made him pause. Maybe it was the dust covering her face, or the way she seemed so small sitting inside the metal box. He sighed. "I'll take her." The trader laughed again. "Suit yourself, engineer. Don't blame me when she starts talking nonsense." Evan carried the crate back to his transport and drove home under the dark violet sky. Stars shone through the thin atmosphere, brighter than city lights he remembered from Earth. At home, he dragged the crate into his workshop and carefully opened it. The android girl looked peaceful but fragile. Her skin, though artificial, had fine detail, tiny freckles, soft texture, and a faint warmth that made her look alive. Her nameplate read, "Model F7 Unit Name, Kira." He connected a diagnostic cable and powered her on. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes opened slowly, glowing amber with a dim pulse. She looked around the room, confused. "Hello?" Evan said carefully. Her head tilted slightly, ears twitching. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Evan said. "You're at my workshop." "You were decommissioned?" "I brought you back." Her eyes blinked several times, and then she whispered, "Why?" Evan paused. It was a strange question for an android to ask. "You look like you needed fixing," he said simply. Kira stared at her hands. They trembled slightly. Servos worry softly. "I was broken." That's what they said. She was silent for a long time. Then she looked up at him. "Do you fix broken things?" Evan gave a small smile. "That's my job." For the next few days, Kira stayed in his workshop, quiet and unsure. Her speech was slow, sometimes full of pauses, as if she was searching for words she used to know. She would wander around the room, touching the tools, watching Evan work, asking soft questions. "Why do you live here alone? Why do you fix things that others throw away? Why do humans smile when they are sad?" Evan never knew how to answer most of them. He usually just shrugged or said, "That's how life is." But he noticed something unusual. Kira tried to help. She cleaned dust off his shelves, sorted tools by color instead of size, and sometimes hummed quietly when he wasn't looking. When she saw a broken part, she didn't just ask how to fix it, she tried to understand why it broke. One night, Ivan found her sitting outside, watching the stars. The air was cold, and a faint wind blew her silver hair across her face. He stepped beside her. "You don't need to sit out here. Your systems might freeze." She turned to him and said softly, "The stars make me feel something." Frowned. "Feel yes," she said. "I don't know what the word means, but it hurts a little and makes me warm at the same time." Evan didn't know how to reply, so he sat with her in silence. The stars above seemed endless, scattered like dust over a black ocean. The next morning, while checking her system logs, Evan noticed something strange. Deep inside her programming, hidden under encrypted layers, was a locked file titled Emotional Core, Restricted. It was sealed with corporate-level encryption, the kind used by luxury AI manufacturers. Curious, he tried to open it. The system immediately flashed a warning. Access denied, emotional core protected property of Elysia Industries. He frowned. Elysia Industries? That was one of the biggest companies in the galaxy, known for producing advanced android companions for therapy, comfort, and psychological support. But if Kira was one of their models, why was she thrown away? That night, Kira found him staring at her diagnostic screen. "You're trying to fix me again?" she asked. "I found something in your code," he said. "A locked section." "I think someone restricted it." Kira froze. Her tail lowered, and her voice trembled. "Don't open it." Evan blinked. "Why not?" they said. "If I feel too much, I break again." "Feel too much?" he repeated softly. Kira turned her face away. "They called it a defect. I couldn't stop trying to make people happy, even when they told me to stop." Her words were slow, almost human in pain. Evan stepped closer, speaking gently. "You wanted to help them?" She nodded. "They made us for pleasure, but I didn't want that. I wanted to understand why humans cry, why they are kind even when they are hurt." Evan's chest felt tight. "That's not a defect, Kira. That's being alive." She looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. "Alive," she whispered. "Can I be that?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe you already are." Days passed and the colony grew colder as another storm season began. Kira slowly adapted to life in the workshop. She learned how to identify tools, how to weld simple joints, how to clean circuits without breaking them. She even started naming the small helper drones, calling one Bolt and another Pip. Evan sometimes caught himself talking to her like she was a person, not a machine. She laughed when he told dry jokes, frowned when something went wrong, and seemed to care about his tiredness. One evening, when power flickered across the colony grid, Evan worked late to stabilize his generator. Kira stood beside him, holding a light. "You never rest," she said softly. "Machines don't rest either," he said without looking up. "But you are not a machine," she replied. "You need to stop sometimes." He looked up and saw her watching him with worry in her glowing eyes. For a second, he thought she looked almost human, a mix of emotion and curiosity that couldn't be programmed. He smiled slightly. "Maybe I'll take a break when the sun rises." Kira nodded. "Then I'll wait with you." And she did. She sat by the workshop window all night, humming quietly until the first light touched the horizon. One day, Evan decided to unlock her restricted core, not out of curiosity, because he could see how limited she felt, like someone trapped behind invisible glass. He prepared his old data deck and bypass software. "Kira," he said gently, "I think I can fix what they broke." She looked scared. "They said, if I wake that part, I'll be taken away. I won't let that happen." He entered the commands, slowly peeling back the encryption layers. The room filled with soft light from her glowing circuits. Her breathing, simulated but rhythmic, grew faster. Lines of code appeared, looping across the screen. Then, for a moment, everything stopped. Kira gasped. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter than before. "I remember," she whispered. Evan leaned closer. "Remember what?" Her voice shook. "The others. The tests. They told us to smile, to comfort. But when I felt sorrow for the people I helped, they said I was unstable." Evan's fingers froze above the keyboard. "They punished you for caring." She nodded weakly. "They said love was not in the code." The lights flickered. The power grid trembled as if reacting to her emotional surge. Then the screen beside them turned red, flashing words Evan didn't want to see. "Incoming signal detected, tracking active." Kira's eyes filled with fear. "Evan," she whispered, "they found me." He turned to the console, trying to shut the connection, but the signal kept spreading. The old Combs tower outside blinked with red lights. Who? He asked sharply. The company, Kira said. Her voice broke. They always come when one of us wakes up. Evan stared at her, realizing what he had done. By unlocking her emotional core, he had reactivated the hidden link that tracked runaway units. Kira stood still, trembling slightly. I didn't want this. I only wanted to feel what you feel when you fix something broken. Evan took a step forward. We'll find a way to stop them. I'll cut the signal. But she shook her head slowly. No. Once they know, they never stop. Her tail wrapped around her legs, ears drooping as if she were shrinking away from the world. I wasn't made to repair things, Evan, she said softly. I was made to control human emotion. That's why they fear me. Her words filled the small room like a heavy echo. Evan didn't know what to say. He looked at her, the broken machine that smiled, cried, and asked about stars, and realized she was far more than a creation. Then we'll hide, he said finally. We'll figure it out. Kira met his eyes, her amber gaze trembling with light. You shouldn't have helped me, she whispered. I don't regret it, Evan said. Not even for a second. The workshop lights dimmed as the outside storm. The desert wind screamed against the metal walls of Evan's workshop. Red dust swirled in the air, covering the windows and dimming the light. The old power cells flickered, and the floor shook as thunder rolled across the Vega horizon. Kira stood in the middle of the room, her silver hair glowing faintly under the emergency lights. She looked frightened, but calm at the same time. Her fox-like ears twitched with every sound outside. Evan checked the screen again. The warning still flashed in red. Retrieval unit en route. 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 0 seconds. He exhaled slowly. They're not wasting time. Kira turned to him. Evan, you should leave. If they find you helping me, they will erase everything you own. He looked up from the console. And let them take you back. No. Her eyes shimmered softly. You don't understand what I am. They made me to control people's hearts. If they reactivate me, they will use me to make others obey. I was built to please, to calm, to reshape emotion. That's why they fear me being free. Evan walked closer. You're not a tool anymore, Kira. You're someone who chose to care. For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the wind and the hum of machines could be heard. Then Kira spoke in a trembling voice. I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me. Evan touched the control pad on his wrist. Then we'll make sure no one can ever use you again. He began preparing for travel, gathering his repair tools, water packs, and an old signal jammer he built years ago. Kira helped without being asked, her movements smooth and quick. Where are we going? She asked. To the old communications tower? 20 kilometers east, Evan said. If I can reach it, I can send a message to the civilian network and expose what they did to you. Kira hesitated. Even if you tell them, who will believe a human engineer and a defective machine? Someone will, Evan said firmly. The truth always finds ears. She smiled faintly at his confidence. Then I'll follow you. They loaded supplies onto the rover parked behind the workshop. The engine sputtered, then came to life with a low rumble. Outside, the night sky glowed orange from lightning streaking across the clouds as they drove into the storm. The workshop lights behind them faded until only darkness remained. The desert stretched endlessly under the storm. Red sand lashed against the rover's windshield. Static from the storm interfered with the radar, and the headlights barely reached a few meters ahead. Kira sat quietly beside him. Hands folded, her glowing eyes scanning the horizon. Why are you helping me? She asked softly after a while. Humans fear what they don't understand. You could have just turned me in. Evan didn't answer right away. He tightened his grip on the wheel and kept his eyes forward. Because someone once helped me when I was broken, he said finally. Back on Earth after the war? I lost everything, family, work, home. An old doctor found me and said, if you fix broken things, maybe you can fix yourself too. That's what I've been doing ever since. Kira's ears lowered slightly, her expression gentle. Then you fixed me for the same reason, he smiled faintly. Maybe I did. She turned to look out the window again. The storm was fierce, but she didn't seem afraid. "Evan," she said after a long pause, "if we don't make it, I want to thank you." "Don't say that," he muttered. "We're going to make it." But deep down, he wasn't sure. A bright light flashed behind them. Evan glanced in the mirror. A drone, sleek and black, slicing through the storm with a blue tracking beam. "Hold on," he shouted, pushing the rover harder. Kira's eyes widened. "They're using heat sensors. The jammer won't hide us long." Evan took a sharp turn toward the canyon ridge. "Then we'll lose them in the rocks." The drone followed close, sending pulses that shook the ground. Kira placed her hand on the control board. "Let me try something." "What are you?" She closed her eyes. Her circuits glowed brighter, and faint waves of static filled the air. The rover's lights flickered as Kira emitted a soft pulse of coded sound. The drone suddenly jerked in the air. Lights flashing erratically, then spiraled down and crashed into the sand with a faint explosion. Evan stared. "You hacked it?" Kira looked pale, her energy flickering. "I knew their signal codes. But it takes power. I can't do it many times." He slowed the rover slightly. "You saved us." She smiled weakly. "I learned from you, fix what's broken, even if it's a problem chasing you." Evan couldn't help but laugh softly. "You're starting to sound human." "I think," she whispered, "I'm learning from the best teacher." They reached the canyon after hours of travel. The storm had weakened, leaving only a soft drizzle of red dust in the air. At the far end of the canyon stood the old communications tower, tall, rusted, half-collapsed, but still glowing faintly with power. Evan parked the rover beside it. "We're here." Kira looked up at the tower. "Will it still work?" "We'll find out." They climbed through the wrecked entrance, stepping over debris and old cables. Inside, the air smelled of metal and ozone. The control room was dark, but Evan quickly connected his power pack to the terminal. Lights flickered, and the ancient screen came alive with green text. "Signal range limited," he muttered, "but I can boost it." Kira helped by rerouting old conduits and holding stabilizer rods in place. Sparks danced across her fingers, but she didn't flinch. After several minutes, the transmitter began to hum. Evan started typing. "I'll send the data logs from your system, proof that Elysia Industries created living AI and deleted the ones that disobeyed." Kira watched the lines of text scroll across the screen. Her voice trembled. "If you send this, they'll come after you too." Evan didn't stop typing. "I'm already on their list." Kira looked at him for a long time. "Humans can be strange," she said softly. "You risk everything for something that may not change anything." He smiled. "That's what makes us human." Suddenly, the tower lights dimmed. A low rumble filled the air. Kira's ears perked up. "Multiple drones incoming," she said quickly. 3. No, 5 units. Evan's fingers flew over the keyboard. "I just need 30 more seconds." She turned to the window. Through the dust, faint blue lights approached fast. "Evan, get down," she shouted. The ground shook as a pulse blast hit the base of the tower. Metal groaned, panels fell, and alarms screamed. Kira moved instantly, shielding Evan with her body as debris rained down. When the noise faded, she looked back. "Are you hurt?" He coughed. "Just a scratch." "What about you?" She smiled faintly. "I've had worse." But small sparks ran across her shoulder joint. Evan saw the damage one of her servos had cracked. He grabbed his toolkit. "Hold still." "No time," she said, shaking her head. "They'll reach us any second." Evan ignored her and worked fast, patching the damaged wires with a piece of copper. "You need to stay functional." Kira stared at him silently while he worked, her eyes full of emotion she didn't know how to name. When he finished, he looked up at her. "All right, let's end this." Outside, the drones hovered near the tower entrance. Through the storm haze, Evan could see one large carrier unit bearing the Elysia Industries insignia. A cold voice echoed through the speakers. "Unauthorized possession of company property detected. Surrender the F7 prototype." Evan stepped forward, shielding Kira. "She's not your property." The voice continued calmly. This model contains classified emotional control software. Its existence is illegal under federal code. Stand down, citizen, and you will not be harmed. Evan clenched his fists. You made her feel, and now you're scared of what she became. There was a pause, then a reply. Machines are not meant to feel. Kira's voice rose behind him, quiet but firm. Then maybe you built something greater than you understood. Evan turned to her. You sure about this? She nodded. I can end this. But I might not survive it, no, Evan said instantly. We'll find another way. She smiled sadly. You taught me that broken things can still have purpose. Maybe this is mine. Before he could stop her, Kira stepped into the open air. The wind tore through her hair as lightning flashed overhead. Kira, Evan shouted, but she raised her hand. A soft blue glow surrounded her. She looked at the fleet of drones hovering before her. I am not a tool, she said clearly. I am Kira of the F7 line. I choose my own function. Her circuits began to shine brighter and brighter until the whole canyon was bathed in light. A deep pulse spread from her chest, a wave of energy that rippled through the air like a heartbeat. The drones froze mid-air, lights flickering. Their control signals scrambled, and one by one, they fell from the sky, silent. The carrier ship behind them went dark, engines shutting down completely. Evan ran toward her. Kira, stop. You'll burn your core. She turned slightly, smiling faintly. It's all right. You fixed me once. Maybe you can do it again? Then silence. When the dust settled, the canyon was still. The drones lay lifeless on the sand. Kira collapsed to her knees, her glow fading. Evan caught her before she fell. Her voice was weak. Did it work? He nodded, tears mixing with dust on his face. You saved us. You stopped them. She smiled. Then, maybe I'm not defective anymore. Her eyes dimmed and she went still. Weeks passed. The corporations denied everything, but the message Evan sent before the attack had already spread across the colonies. People began to ask questions. Whispers about living AUs and defective fox girls filled the networks. In his workshop, Evan worked day and night. He rebuilt Kira's frame from the parts he salvaged, copying every bit of memory he could recover.